see somebody being kept alive by machines and things of that nature, it feels very much like, that to me would be purgatory, to be in that place of nowhere in that moment.
Right.
So.
And that was one thing that our family faced, was a decision.
Mm-hmm.
And we said we didn't want to play God. In our case, we wanted God to be God and let whatever nature and was to happen, let that happen naturally, in the timing naturally.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we did. And we all felt so. I remember us going into the room to have the talk with the doctors. And I remember praying that we would all be of one heart, regardless of the decision, that we would all be at one heart with it. And we were. And that was the greatest gift that we gave each other.
Mm-hmm.
Because afterwards, that's what we had, that we had all been at one heart. And that was interesting, because it was a brother, it was a wife of a daughter, it was the mother of the daughter, which was not a current wife.
Mm-hmm.
It was a mix of family, and yet we were all able to look at what was best for the person, the patient, the person in the bed, and try to make that decision. And I'm so thankful that was our experience.
It's a beautiful thing. So part of what I'm hearing is when somebody's really unsettled with all of this, that they would behoove them to get in touch with someone like you who can actually be that angel in here, an earth angel, as they call it, to help maybe add a little bit more heart to the whole situation. Because often when people move into pain, they try to move away from the feeling. And so my sense of you is someone that will help them be able to be grounded and be in it, because that's the value.
That's good, Deborah, because it is true. You, if you don't, it haunts. I mean, maybe I shouldn't say haunts, but it's with you. That's one thing
Well, it'd be an incompletion.
Exactly.
Right.
And that's one thing that I've told someone. It's been 6 years now for me, and yet I feel like that I went through everything I was supposed to. I didn't bypass it. I didn't go under it, over it, anywhere. I just went right through it. I went through all the pain of it. I didn't try to bypass it because I needed to, and in my case, I didn't want any medications or anything. I wanted to feel what I felt. I didn't want to put a Band-Aid on it. I didn't want to put, a smile over something that wasn't there.
Mm-hmm.
So, I hope all my friends and people that's known me for the last 6 years understand, because it was just whatever I felt, that's where I was about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just going to go right through it. And that's why I really feel like I'm where I am now.
Yeah.
Because I did.
Yeah.
And that was a gift that I gave to myself, but to anyone else that I'm able to be with.
Yeah. That was the real education, right?
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
So it's just out of curiosity and kind of as some closing thoughts here. When you mentioned that you had this sort of beautiful experience of death and passing, and some people may not have, and some people may have had more of a horrific experience of it. Based on some of what you have learned, does the training touch on what those things might be about, or why somebody who passes may pass very peacefully and someone else may seem, and the key word here is seem, to have such a struggle with it, or horrific is the word you described, and it stuck in my head. So I'm wondering, is there any kind of perception to that?
I don't think we really touched on that. My own personal thought is that there's maybe some unfinished business,
Mm-hmm.
and either within themselves or with other people. And, I think that may be it.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not able to, maybe at that time there's more going on physically, confusion and different things, and they don't know how to kind of just work it all out.
Their job of letting go becomes difficult. Right.
Because they feel like it's incomplete, and there's maybe things that's unresolved, and they just, maybe there's people they haven't asked forgiveness for. And what's interesting about that and I was telling, I think, one of my sisters, but I said, it's kind of like if everyone was involved in the 12-step, for instance, but if they were and they kept current on their amends, then just think how much easier it would be of letting go, because you would feel kind of current on most things. You would have gone through, especially all of the past stuff, and then there may be some stuff, just incidental things that you hadn't resolved, but basically, the big stuff, you would have already looked at, maybe made your amends and worked through. And, I've often said, the 12-step is really for everybody. There isn't anybody that really needs a pass from that, because we've all, in some way or another, have been affected by some kind of, addiction of some kind.
Absolutely. Well, we're all addicts one way or another.
Exactly.
It's very, very true. I've found that to be very true. So that's really great advice. And what I hear from that too, just in the simplest of terms, is, don't go to bed angry. Don't leave something on a sour note when you can, in essence, correct that, because you just never know. Anything can change in just that quick of a second.
You better believe it. It
So,
sure can. And when you experience a death of someone, quickly, especially, that makes it so much more, you're so much more aware of it. If you have a parent, they live like my dad to be 92, I like to say 92 and a half, and, then, it's not as much, but when, it's someone
like your husband.
like my husband, 57, had been a football player at Georgia Tech, looked like the picture of health, and 4 days later, he was gone.
Wow.
Then it's like, then you start thinking, it all can change in a flash.
Wow. So abide by the simple rules. Make sure you take care of your business, right? Absolutely.
Exactly.
So Faith, how can someone get in touch with you if they want to, acquire your services for be massage, healing touch, aromatherapy, or pre-surgery, or as part of the Twilight Brigade? How could they get in touch with you or get more information on how to participate also as part of the Twilight Brigade?
Okay, well, thank you. We do have a meetup site for the Twilight Brigade, and I think it's called the maybe Middle Tennessee Twilight Brigade Meetup, something like that.
If they maybe Google the Twilight Brigade, Tennessee, or even Alabama, would probably be able to point them in the right direction.
Right.
Okay.
But we do have a meetup site just for us here in Middle Tennessee.
Okay.
And that's a really good place, because we'll keep all that updated. Like if we're going to have a meeting or something like that, we'll post that there. And then, of course, there's the National Twilight Brigade website. If they want to know just generally about the national organization, they can go there.
So the URL for the Twilight Brigade
is www.thetwilightbrigade.com.
Okay, so make sure to add thetwilightbrigade.com, and that's the national.
Right.
Great. And then how do people get in touch with you?
Oh, okay. Well, I have a website, www.tender-touch-therapies.com, and my email address is tttherapies@gmail.com.
And I know we didn't talk about it today, but you did mention that you do a Friday Blog Talk radio show as well.
Yes.
So why don't we give it a little plug here before we
Thank
wrap
you.
things up?
That's great, Deborah. Yes, it's on Fridays, and it's from 9 to 10 o'clock Central Standard Time. And I started it in September of this past year with the intent that I really wanted my seniors, my older adults, my elders, whatever you want to call them, to have a place to tell their life story. I have a Facebook page. I'd love for people to go and like it. It's called Fridays with Faith, and I keep up with my guests and everything there.
And then is that the Blog Talk station as well?
It's blogtalkradio.com, and then it's /Art of Living Well.
Art of Living Well.
I'm on the Art of Living Well network.
Okay.
And then that's Fridays with Faith.
Well, I really encourage people to go and check that out as well. Thank you so much, Faith, for giving so much of your time and for all that you do. It's really been a privilege getting to know you.
Oh, thank you. Well, it's an honor, and I appreciate the opportunity.